So let's form in a second ring sitting on the floor. Seems like probably the only way we're going to really on is this. There ain't enough shadowy corners in the room. Does anyone know what the right time is? It's now. It's now.
Yeah, it's now. The right time is now.
It's always now.
No, it was now.
But it's still now.
Are we on it? Does anyone want to count us just so we have a figure in our heads?
We've got about
This many.
51 at last count.
So, the guys who just come in today won't be being filmed.
Okay, well, have we been
I
filming
don't like
throughout?
that.
I don't
get
no,
to
yeah,
filming going on.
I'm not going to film because I'm not being filmed, so I'll be filmed.
There are people not filming already. I've seen it.
Yeah, I mean, the
They have
problem,
consent, so I'm living.
the problem with, you see, this is the problem, you see.
So
For
what
me,
we talked about earlier at 20%.
the problem with the idea that that I have to keep a statute, is that I never got consent, right? And what they do is they interpret the word consent as in, what does statute need? What does the statute need?
Consent of the government.
Consent of the governed, right? So they then translate that as, well, that means consent of the governed, right? Now, even if 50%, 1% of people in this country actually voted for one, even if they voted for one, that's not consent, right?
It's gone relatively mental straight away, Danny, when we're still just establishing if we can film. Can I have a go at just resolving the filming thing first?
May I say something? Would it be considered, because if you actually enter into the process of voting,
Again, that's voting. That's voting. That's voting.
Then
We come back.
into a
Should we start with the
contract.
camera?
Because you're saying I'm making a statement.
Let's combine the two together. Let's
So if you
vote on
don't
the
vote,
camera.
if you don't vote, then you are not entering into a contract, are you? I haven't voted for the last, 30 years?
You've all entered into a contract with me because I started this, and I will. I will call that card if need be. I'll attempt to be the best I can at like a consensus thing. I have no real fucking ownership over what we all do. I'm going to continue doing what I do, and I'm hopefully not going to see too many people again until I bump into you. With regard to filming, if anyone doesn't want to be filmed, you don't have to put your hands up because that would be the same sort of thing. But if anyone doesn't want to be filmed, really just like show your voice over that way or something, so we know there's anyone who doesn't want to be filmed.
Okay.
Now, a way around that is, I don't mind at all being filmed anymore. If anyone's filming, just don't film everyone's face, please. If you want to point the camera so you can hear what's being said, so that other people who couldn't make it here physically can see what's being said, because there is this good reason to film it. There's loads of people who couldn't make it here who've asked, can we film it? Me, I don't even have a camera, so I've asked if you bring around cameras. Cameras have been bought. If you want, you can just point the camera at me, point the camera at anything around, but don't do that because it'll spook out people who don't want to be filmed, and there are people who have really good reasons not want to be filmed. I have been one of those people myself. At this stage, I don't mind. But there are very good reasons to not want to be filmed, especially at things like this. And any of us that have come here are brave enough to come here, are gullible enough to come here. You can shout the other door out there.
No.
So does that get around the filming thing? We're free to film, but please don't film people's faces. The people at home who didn't make it here don't need to see everyone's face. They should have come if they wanted to do that. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Is anyone not cool with that? Okay, so switch your cameras on, let's switch your in and we'll begin concentrating on this. Are we fair enough that I have indeed called a contract with all of you people by creating an event page, by creating the idea, by making a phone call and making a contract about the space and gathering? Fair enough to say.
It's not a contract. We're all individuals with a free choice. Not shows turn up or not.
We chose it. We wasn't coerced.
Now, hey, relax that, okay? You're trying to slap us into extending all the kinds of stuff that is obvious anyway. And I'm trying to paper myself out of certain roles that I imagine people are projecting me into just because they don't know and they think I've done certain things or whatever. I don't know. Maybe there are those thoughts. I imagine there should be. I'm going to paper myself out of those spaces because I don't want to play any of those roles for anyone. I have enough on my shoulders. I can just about balance again these days, so I want to not take extra things on my shoulders and throw myself off balance. Does that make sense? Contracts. Kind of the way I am about it is if you agree something with somebody that's kind of a contract. Now, me, I don't give a fuck about any of this signed on paper stuff. I have nothing to do with it. None of it. So I don't really want all that to come up because that takes hours and hours, and we've all heard it out of the internet, and it all disagrees with each other anyway because it's squash, tugging things down. Does that make sense? So one's word is one's truth. Is that how we run this gathering? Okay. When somebody feels like speaking, I'll do this little introduction of stuff so that hopefully we're just agreed on a lot of things without having to go through them one by one. And then I'm going to sit out of the way, hopefully. Just have a good listen. From past experience of gatherings with all sorts of reasons, there are people who haven't quite learned what it is to sit and listen. There are even musicians like that, and they play music, man, and some of them are even supposed to be famous and well paid. They don't listen. If we can help each other learn to listen, then we'll have some kind of unity among ourselves. If we really value what we learned while we were listening to other people, if we talked all the time like we normally do, maybe, we wouldn't hear any of this. So if we notice that we're hearing a lot of really interesting stuff from everybody, not just a dialect with one or two people who we have a solar plexus link to, am I going too far with all those words? For anyone. So I can simplify again if you want. Great. It's amazing. When somebody feels like speaking, feel it a second time, and let go of your feeling. If one feels like speaking and someone else is obviously feeling like speaking too, hold back. Be the gentle person. And remember what it is you're thinking. Don't be muffled. Just gainsaying everything you said, or agreeing with everything you said. Just hold on to what's really coming true to your own intelligence.
Listening, really trying to understand it as well.
Yeah.
New
New stuff.
New interactions. Yeah. I think there's like an innate human morality, and sometimes people say things that you don't listen. But, and it might hit a red flag, but if you don't try and understand where they're coming from, then you never understand, you never listen.
And if you hold the person, that would break the flow of our synergy. But if you just stay listening, it will come up. Your next question is that this new thing brings up will be followed around by them that are following it. It'll all come here. And that's what I'd like to get to at the end of this, is just to hear clearly wherever the fuck we are, where we're at the end of this compared to now. In terms of introductions, 2 years ago, tree rested in the space of 3 days because of healing experiments I was doing inside of myself. And I brought up a lot of stuff, which meant I had to learn about all this law stuff and do a lot of practice and fortune and all this thing, and I found out there was all this freeman and things, so great. I met John Harris and those people, but I found there was no support really 2 years ago. So I did my court cases mostly on my own. Learned a lot of stuff, cost some money, waste of time, worth of experience. I left myself in a position, and this is kind of where I'm coming from in this thing, where I can go back into court any time, where the judgment is unfair and I can't meet it. It's not possible. A fair judgment would recognise it's not possible for me ever to meet this judgment that's been put on me already. Then the court's in a system where it won't admit it's ever wrong. So I sit in that position with it, and we're all in that position whether we know it or not. It won't admit it's ever done wrong, not even Ian Tomlinson or anyone. So we're all in a worse position than a dead man. I guess we all figured out, unless there's some hope for the planet, unless there's something real in humanity, unless there's some real spirit, unless there's a guidance system that's brought us all here, that brought us to Birkenhead, that brought us into whatever trouble has led us onto this path in the first place.
we've all been gathered here today with a kind of belief, hope, or wisdom that something's going to come out of it. And it's beautiful to see. I come alone saying I'm surprised by the turnout. Really good. A lot of us all we're kind of been up small groups for alone. So maybe now is the time to bring about some kind of action, not necessarily as in bang, but more as in let's start a community, let's start a unity between us. And what I found recently is things tend to happen because of lifestyle. Because of our lifestyles, we've all been dragged to a particular point. So if we want to take it further, let's refine this lifestyle without any boundaries, and let's make this movement, whatever you want to call it, I really don't mind. Let's make it fun, let's make it fair, and let's really put our minds together, put our energy, put our skills together. Be it a club night, be it a party, be it a street gathering, be it a jam, be it anything. Let's do something, and it'll be magnetic. We'll be dragged into it. It will only grow and grow.
The last thing at the beginning, so that I can just throw a shape in the end, and then I'll get back at the centre entirely. In terms of the end of the process, what I've envisaged and why I thought it's time to call this thing, with those arrests came an awful lot of insight and an awful lot of mad imagination in my psychotic brain. And that psychosis I've held on to the whole way through this whole judgment process as being the only thing of real value. Psychotic stuff that I should be jailed for is the one thing I think was valuable, really, out of the whole thing. That's a strange viewpoint. I've learned that viewpoint for many, many years. What I've come out with at the end of it and why it's time to call it gather now is, with regard to the World War situation, which is unleashed upon us and which the news leaks to us, this is the latest thing we're doing that we're telling you about. On that scale of things, Britain plays a role in the World War, in funding the World War, and thinking it through a long time ago that this is the way it will go. We all live in Britain. The square mile of London is a separate set of laws from Great Britain. It's the same set of laws as the Vatican and Washington, D.C. So the square mile of London, Washington, D.C. and the Vatican have a separate set of laws from the countries they're in. That's a lot of how the World War is maintained and planned, and is in thousands of years planned. There's very little time left before it's so official that they are coming knocking on our doors. The census mirrors that to us. With regard to we live in Britain, these people who are the problem, commonly called the elite, whoever they are, as a concept and as a logic and as something we know exists, they are very near to us. Somehow we've got to barter with these people for the destiny of all of humankind. That's just a straightforward fact. If Britain, and the people of Britain, people in Britain, if we can't do something to bring about truth in this country, to realign this country, then the other countries can't really do it for us, or for themselves. So there's the onus on us. If we can bring this country back into alignment with truth, then all those other countries will succeed in what they're trying to do now for themselves. And that's good for everyone. So that's my intent with the end of this gathering of what the focus really is. Game plan for that is quite simple, a 5-step plan you could call it. If there was an indigenous people in Britain before these invaders came and set up their dominion and now have royalty and government and statutes, so long before statutes come into being, if there were native people in this land before these people invaded and spent 1,000 odd years getting a foothold here, never mind dominion over, if those people existed, then those people had a prior claim and still have. Step one. Native people exist in all the other countries. This applies to all the other countries. The Native Americans and the Aboriginals and the New Zealand Maori people, they're all at this in their legal courts, and stuff is stacking up in the European Central Court, or whatever it's called, with these dominions trying to reclaim that you owe us for all the materials you've stolen off our people. We don't hear about it, but this stuff is going on. The little jokey side of things, if you're trying to find the native people in any Native American reservation or any Aboriginal outback, Just take really strong liquor with you and spill some and throw it around so they can smell it and they'll all come running for the liquor. It is funny, and the funniest, horriblest thing of all is it's true of the native people of this land as well. And so that's what I've spent doing since I was 15, is wandering around with strong liquor, spilling it around the place and finding native people. And they flood to me. They exist. Take point 2 and look at point 1. We have a prior claim to this country. We were slaughtered. What they teach us and indoctrinate us as history is an indictment against their sins against humanity, war crimes against us. That stands up in court. It's just the one support to stand up. Spent years working all this stuff out of the ground. Step 3, if you could bring it into court as a people, you had like representatives of the people, and speak to the people, and people were like, yeah. So step 3 is among all of us who don't exist, to find one of us who couldn't exist, and speak for all of us who don't exist. Step 3. Step 4, you bring it into the court, and it will be heard. If step 4 went the best it could possibly go, they'd agree with us. It's fucking obvious. We murdered all your people, we hunted down your wise people, we wiped out your genealogies. We enslaved you and sent you to foreign countries and turned you into slave masters against coloured people. It took us generations and generations and generations to turn elves into orcs, but we fucking did it. However, if we overcame their conditioning with truth, and just aggregate the simplest of points with a history book in our hand and a Bible in the other, and they agreed, we'd still have point 5. So okay, in the courts, the establishment and the elite all admit that little do they damn stood up and said the truth in court, and fuck it, he said it so eloquently, you just have to agree with him. Stole it all off you. We still have point 5. Point 5 is we have to tell the people about the change. We have to explain to people that what they've been indoctrinated with for thousands of generations had lies contained in it, and we've sorted out those lies and everyone's free. We have to tell everyone we're free, and we have to help everyone understand what it is to be free, because those people forgot.
And that's where time travel comes in.
So that's step 5. Okay, 4 out of 5 ain't bad. I could test it to be that I personally have been fulfilling 4 out of 5 of those all along, and I've had a whole string of court dates, in which I've also won every one of those court dates on these points. So for me, all those 5 have been achieved for a long time. I've even had a winning anthem. Loads of people around the world know it. It goes, we won, we won, we won, we won, we won, because we're one, we won, because we're one, we won, because we're one, we won. Now, court date will come, but we've already won. It's logical. On a spiritual side of things, it's impossible for them to implement the mass destruction that we've heard they intend to implement. It's impossible. That's on principle. A part of us can't destroy the whole and survive, and nature won't allow it to happen. So in the stress of that almost happening, something else happens. Let's not look at the fear of what's supposed to be happening, but look at what, if that doesn't happen and something else happens, we have this free world with a lot of free people in it. And we'll be in this situation. No leader, sitting around together wondering what we do next.
That's right.
He has got a very good point. All those other 4 points have been won. But the only thing is, it's that 5th point. And the major problem is most people really hate being wrong. And when you tell someone they're wrong, the feeling of being wrong is a bit shitty. It's like, what do you mean I'm wrong? What do you mean what do you mean everything I believe in is false? It's not true. It's not an easy pill to swallow.
That's why they have to learn themselves, isn't it?
Yeah, and
To change the perception.
Most people are already aware of
and I think really that's the most difficult thing, because it's the